How do you build rock solid, rock star, life-changing atomic habits? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. And I recently just got done reading this book by James Clear, Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results, Atomic Habits. An easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. And this was an incredible book. I've followed James Clear and his blog, jamesclear.com, for a few years now. I get his weekly newsletters, and I was really looking forward to reading this book when it came out. And I'd like to go over a few action steps that you can take just based off reading this book of the principles for building incredible habits. And the framework that he uses is to create a good habit by making it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. And alternatively, on the other side of that, in order to break a bad habit, you want to make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying. So there's tons of examples for how to do that for lots of different types of habits, a lot of common habits, such as meditation, staying in touch with people more often, gratitude, working out, journaling, eating healthier, writing, public speaking, saving, running, the list goes on and on, cooking, practicing an instrument. There's lots of different habits, and what I'd like you to do as a prompt for this video is to think about one or two habits that you personally are looking to get better at or upgrade, because that's really what this book is all about. And if you read it, which I would encourage you to do if you are at all interested in upgrading any of your habits, this is a really good toolkit, because what it does is it gives you a lot of small changes, like it says at the top, tiny changes. There's a lot of like little tweaks that are suggestions in this book that you can easily implement to start to see results. And one of the kind of slogans of the book that I've seen is that it's called, habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. And really what that means is the same way when you're saving and the interest compounds, these little tiny habits that you do repeatedly can form a tidal wave of results for you. And so definitely consider taking on upgrading some of your habits as a result of this video. So the first concept that the author lays out is really laying the framework for how to shift your thinking about habits in general, right? And he begins talking about goals, which is something that I'm really big on, is setting and achieving your biggest life goals, your biggest goals that you have, and how to go about doing that. And chapter 4 of my book is actually all about habits and the routines that you're going to implement in order to get to those goals. And so this book is really a deep dive on those habits. That's why I like it so much, I think. And really, he talks about the example of an athlete, right? That's in a season. Every athlete in that sport has the same goal. They all want to win the championship. So the goals that you set don't necessarily determine the results that you get. I repeat, the goals that you set don't necessarily determine the results that you get. So goal setting is this huge talked about phenomenon, but really setting the goals is, in my opinion, 1/10 of the battle of actual real achievement. Set the goal, but focus on your system, focus on your program. And that's really what this book is, talking about. So another kind of paradigm shift that the book presents on how to go about looking at your habits versus your goals is to think about your identity and the person that you're looking to become. Because, for example, if you're looking to build the habit of reading, the real fulfillment is not coming in reading a book. Sure, that's an accomplishment. You're going to check that off your list of your goals, but the real fulfillment is going to come in becoming a reader. The same way it's not, running a marathon is not the end goal, it's not the destination. Becoming a runner is a lot more fulfilling, and there's a few examples of that as well for other areas if that's something that you're interested in. So back to the framework. For good habits, you want to make them obvious. That's the first law that he talks about. And some examples of making things obvious is doing what he calls an implementation intention, which to me, I just translate that to mean get real specific. Don't just say I'm going to work out next week, but say it's going to happen Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8:15 a.m. for 60 minutes at the gym in Moss Park. Something like that. Getting specific with the day, the time, and the location. That's called an implementation intention. So what's yours? Next is habit stacking. So that's coupling together a current habit that you already have with a habit that you want. For example, in the morning, we all have these things that we do automatically that we don't consider them necessarily habits, just like as part of what we do, as part of our routine. For example, brushing our teeth. So if you want to begin meditating every morning, if you've heard a lot of talk about meditation, how valuable it is and stuff like that, and you're like, you know what, I want to go ahead and meditate every day. So pair meditation with something that you're already doing every day. So after I brush my teeth, I'm going to sit and meditate for 10 minutes. And write that down, and then you'll be so much more likely to actually do it if in your head it's stacked together with the habit that you're already doing and the one that you want to begin implementing. Law 2 is make it attractive. So a term for that he talks about in the book is temptation bundling. So putting together a habit that you need with a habit that you want, which personally I think it's a lot more motivating to put the habit that you want to do first, and then, or that you need to do first, and then that you want to do. For example, if you need as a salesperson to make calls to potential clients, and the thing that you want to do is, for example, check Instagram, you can tell yourself, after calling 10 potential clients, then I will check Instagram. So you're initiating that habit that you want to do first, getting that done, and you have this carrot in your head of after it's done, I get this reward of checking Instagram. So that's a way to kind of, it's a small change, but you can just couple that in with something that you want to do that's motivating for you, and you're so much more likely to keep in that habit. Second, on making it attractive, is to join a culture where the desired habit that you want is the norm. Join a culture or a social group where the desired habit that you want is the norm. For example, if you're an artist and you want to practice your art on a regular basis, let's say you're a painter, it's not that odd if you're in a meetup group of painters and they talk about how they paint all the time and they paint for 1, 2, 3 hours a day. You're gonna find it to be a lot easier to keep up that habit if you're in a group where they're already practicing that, versus if you're just kind of isolated on your own and you're trying to build this new habit of painting for multiple hours a day. It's going to be a lot easier to do that when you have that social proof and people around you that say, hey, this is the normal thing to do, this is what we're doing, and it makes it a lot easier to implement. Number 3, the third law on creating those great habits is to make it easy. And personally, my favorite example for this, something that always works for me, is meal prep. So whenever I'm looking to kick off a new diet or fitness program, getting my nutrition nailed in is so much easier when I plan out the meals, write them out for the week, and then also prepare those meals so that way there's no thinking involved. It's a predetermined plan, and having a predetermined set of actions that you're going to do makes it so much easier for throughout the day when you're thinking about, oh, what could I possibly be doing? Oh, you got the plan already, and you just implement that plan. It makes it a lot easier. And the second tip on making it easier that I found super valuable was what he calls a 2-minute rule. And that is boiling down your new habit, or whatever the habit is, into 2 minutes. So let's say the habit is running, and you want to run on a consistent basis, let's say Monday through Friday. Then the 2-minute rule was, what can you do in 2 minutes that will position you to be able to do that habit? Most likely it's tie on your shoes. Put your shoes on, tie the shoes, maybe walk to the door. In those 2 minutes. Here's the key though. You do that every single day for a week, 2 weeks, it becomes second nature, and you can easily build upon that. And you started small. You started with something that you can do just in 2 minutes, and that way it makes it easy. Meditation, great example. A lot of people think, oh my gosh, a lot of people recommend 20 minutes meditating. I'm gonna either meditate 20 minutes or not, and then they end up not doing it. Easy switch to fix that and break it down to just 2 minutes. Make it way easier to implement that habit. Lastly is make it satisfying. Law 4. Personally, an example of how I was able to make a recent habit satisfying, I didn't even know that I was implementing like some of this technique or strategies in the book, was I previously have gone stages where I was like a couple weeks of taking my vitamins every single day and then taking some time off, and then maybe a day here and then some time off, and it wasn't really stuck in until I made it really rewarding and satisfying for the first thing that I had in the morning to be these gummy vitamins, which I don't know if you've ever had them, and I don't know if they're any less effective. Please do not let me know if they are less effective than the pill form, because I love these gummy vitamins. It's like a nice candy, it's a healthy candy, and I'm like telling myself it's just this amazing, health candy that tastes great that I have first thing in the morning. It's like this reward for waking up early and getting my day started on the right foot. So that's a habit that previously I didn't really have locked in, but then I made it satisfying. You can do the same. If you're thinking about whatever habit that you have, how can you incorporate a reward within it to make it a little bit more of an enjoyable experience? Second, on make it satisfying, quick tip is he talks about Jerry Seinfeld. Every day he wrote jokes and he would not break the chain of joke writing consistently. That was his only motivation, was just don't break the chain. So when starting a new habit, how can you be focused on getting that streak going to make sure that you're not ever, you're doing your best, putting your best foot forward to keep that chain going and have it be a situation where you don't break it really for a long amount of time, or if you do break it, it's something that you planned out, right? And the last thing on making it satisfying is to do the inverse, to where if you break that habit, then it's very unsatisfying. And the example that he gives that I really like, that I'm going to implement myself, is to create a habit contract. So put in writing what your goal is and how your habits are going to help you reach your goal, and consequences for if you break the habit. The example he gave was an entrepreneur was looking to lose weight and write down daily the food that he took in and his workouts. And if he broke the habit, then he'd give his wife like $500. And he'd also wear like the university of his rival, his school rival, he'd wear their hat for like a month, something like that. He did not want to wear that hat, and he didn't want to give his wife $500 out of nowhere. So he was on a mission to make sure that he did not go through the pain and the consequence of breaking that contract. So those are the 4 laws for creating game-changing, life-changing atomic habits. There were a couple of additions that I was just thinking as I was reading through the book, things that are more ideas for how you can take this to the next level. One is coaching. Talking with someone on a regular basis that has implemented the habit, helped others implement the habit, and also has researched the field and really knows what they're talking about is priceless. And it's not really mentioned in the book, but I think it's really valuable. They talk about accountability partners. I think that's one thing, but kind of someone who is an expert in what you're looking to do for those special high priority habits and goals. I think that's super helpful. Second is the order in the day. I think if it's at all possible to put those new habits somehow earlier in the day rather than later. It's like that eat that frog mentality where you just get the worst thing done first, and that way it can give you fuel to be able to know that you conquered the worst part of the day early, and you can go on and get to, you know, progressively easier things as like your willpower comes down, maybe stress and different stuff comes up throughout the day. Just use your highest possible energy state in the morning, your most productive state, to get those new habits done. Would be a recommendation I would give. And then the third addition that I would add is you definitely are in way better of a position to implement a habit if this is a habit that you are teaching. If you are teaching a habit, it's a completely different scenario than if you're just trying to learn it on your own. If you learn it on your own and you get to the point where you're like, you know what, I'm going to share my lessons, whether it's on social media or to a friend, or, you know, even if you're just writing on a journal for maybe a 101 class that you could teach on the subject, and you have that in your head that, you know what, I got to take this information in, but I also need to translate it because I'm going to teach someone this one day. If you have that mindset of being a teacher with that specific habit, game changer. The way you're taking in the information, the way you're going to be implementing it, you want to have integrity with, you know, being able to teach something that you're actually truly practicing. It's a game changer for being able to implement those big habits. And so in summary, I would definitely highly recommend you check out Atomic Habits if you are looking to optimize or upgrade any of your habits at all. It's a great read, a lot of specifics, a lot of details, short chapters that make it kind of relatively easy to get through. So they have the chapter summaries at the end, which also make it super easy, and some charts and graphs to mix things up. A lot of different stories. One story never goes like 30-40 pages. He kind of mixes it up. That's really good. If you're looking for kind of depth on any one particular habit, I would not recommend this book if that's your focus, because this book is a very broad overview of a lot of different habits. It gives maybe 30 or 40 different examples of different types of habits. So it's not very deep in any one specific habit. It's a lot more broad. So keep that in mind. And lastly, just a few action steps or tips, things you can take away, is to think about, you know, what is your program? Do you have it written down, or are you updating it? What's the identity that you're working towards in the next 12 weeks, the next 12 months? What are the specifics, the day, time, and locations of the habits that you're looking to build? What are the cues in your environment that you want to have around you to support the good habit? What are the culture and the social groups that you can be around that will also reinforce your good habits? What can you do in 2 minutes to get yourself kick-started on the habit? And what are the streaks that you can go on, and how long do you want to go on streaks to make sure that you lock in your habit for the long term? Like Jerry Seinfeld, never break that chain. And lastly, for your big habits, the ones that you really want to put a lot of effort onto, consider making a contract for those to be able to have it in writing what it is that you're looking to do, and have some accountability and some consequences for not achieving those habit goals. That's it for this video. I hope it helps. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you soon.